It's time for a one-on-one fight between long-term rivals, Visa and Mastercard. So let's try to decide which company is a better investment at the current time and also see how different are they. Maybe the differences are so small that we should just own both companies, or none of them. Let's find out. So first, let's take a look at the investors. Individual insiders own 0.1% of Visa and also 0.1% of Mastercard. So when it comes to the management having its skin in the game, both companies are not quite there. And are individual insiders buying recently? It is an X for Visa, but a check for Mastercard. So individual insiders are buying only shares of Mastercard. And do super investors own these companies? There are 24 super investors owning Visa and 17 super investors owning Mastercard. So it's a check for Visa. But it is worth noting that both companies are very popular with smart money. And are they buying? That is an X for Visa and also an X for Mastercard. The majority of transactions in both cases are sale transactions. So that is not very encouraging. But we should remember that following great investors blindly can actually get us into a lot of trouble. We have to understand why we own a certain company. Because if the stock will drop by 30, 40 or 50%, we have to know what to do. So the final score when it comes to investors is 1 point for Visa and 1 point for Mastercard. Okay, so now let's compare the financial health of both companies. Return on invested capital is 20.5% for Visa and 43.1% for Mastercard. So it's a clear win for Mastercard. Both results are nice, but Mastercard is just out of this world. And what about free cash flow growth? It is 22.7% for Visa and 14.2% for Mastercard. So in this case, it is a check for Visa. And net profit margin? It is 52.9% for Visa and 44.8% for Mastercard. So it is another check for Visa. But it is incredible that even with 44.8% margin, Mastercard is losing. I mean, these results are exceptional. And now let's take a look at share buyback. Visa bought back 35.3% of its shares in the last 10 years, and Mastercard bought back 22.1% at the same time. So both companies have some very powerful buyback programs, but Visa is substantially ahead. And how many years will it take for each company to pay back its debt? Well, for Visa it is just 1 year and for Mastercard it is 1.5. So it's another check for Visa, though in both cases the debt is pretty low. And the final score when it comes to financial health is 4 points for Visa and just 1 point for Mastercard. It is a clear win when it comes to financial health, and it is even more impressive when we see how strong Mastercard is. Now it's time to compare the dividends. So the dividend yield for Visa is 0.8% and for Mastercard it is 0.6%. So it's a check for Visa. Though in both cases the dividend yield is, well, not exceptional. And the payout ratio is 21.3% for Visa and 19.4% for Mastercard. So in this case, we prefer a lower payout ratio because it means that the company is distributing through dividends a lower portion of its earnings and keeping the rest, which creates a bigger possibility for future growth. So it's a check for Mastercard. And lastly, the dividend growth. It is 16.3% for Visa and 17.9% for Mastercard. So both dividends are growing very, very fast, but Mastercard is slightly better in this case. And the final score concerning the dividends is 1 point for Visa and 2 points for Mastercard. And now let's try to compare the valuations of both companies. And to do that, we will use an average intrinsic value per share. In my videos in which I analyze companies, I always create 3 scenarios of future growth and end up with 3 different prices. So this is an average of those 3 prices after applying a 30% margin of safety. So the average intrinsic value per share of Visa is around $210 and the current share price is closer to $256. So that's an X because the current share price is higher than the average intrinsic value. And when we look at Mastercard, we see that the average intrinsic value is around $200, but the current share price is $417. So it is also an X. Both companies are overpriced. But now let's take a look at the percentage difference. And for Visa, it is 18.2%. So it is overvalued by around that much. And Mastercard is overvalued by 52%. So that is a very big difference. So it's a win for Visa. And the final score for the valuation is 1 point for Visa and 0 points for Mastercard. And now let's take a look at the final score. Investors, it is 1 point for Visa and also 1 for Mastercard. Financial health, 4 points for Visa and just 1 point for Mastercard. Dividends, 1 point for Visa and 2 points for Mastercard. And valuation, 1 point for Visa and no points for Mastercard. So the final score is 7 points for Visa and 4 points for Mastercard. So in this clash of titans, it is a clear win for Visa. It has better financial health and it is cheaper right now. But on the other hand, Mastercard has a slightly better dividend. And it is worth remembering that both of them are really exceptional businesses. So write me in the comments what other companies you would like me to put against each other. And if you want to learn more about Visa or Mastercard, you can find my analysis of these companies here. Thank you so much for watching and see you in the next one.